When we hear the name Albert Einstein, a very specific image comes to mind. We picture the wild hair, the eccentric character, the untouchable intellect, whose brain operated on a plane of existence the rest of us couldn't possibly comprehend. But the reality of his beginnings was completely different. Born in the quiet German town of Ulm, young Albert was a remarkably slow developer. He didn't utter a single word until he was 3 years old, leading local doctors to seriously warn his parents that their son might be on the autism spectrum. That rocky start followed him into the rigid, traditional schoolrooms of Munich. He was far from the perfect student. While he showed a natural affinity for math and physics, he completely bombed his history and language classes. His instructors found him unbearable because he flat out refused to simply memorize formulas. Instead, he drilled them on how those equations were derived and why they worked, valuing the logic of the process over the result on the chalkboard. This leaves us with a fascinating contradiction. If the traditional educational system labeled him a failure, how did this intensely irritating habit of questioning absolutely everything eventually allow him to rewrite the laws of the universe? To trace the origin of that habit, we have to look at a small gift from his father, a simple pocket compass. While most kids would accept it as a neat little toy, young Einstein saw a profound physical mystery. He realized there had to be invisible forces actively moving that tiny needle. That single moment ignited a lifelong obsession. Years later, reflecting on his own intellect, Einstein made a surprising admission. He claimed he possessed 0 special talents. His only real gift, he said, was a deeply passionate curiosity. This curiosity drove him to master complex subjects like calculus by age 14. Yet, the professional world didn't care. By the year 1900, despite holding a shiny new physics diploma, he was completely unemployed and repeatedly rejected by the academic establishment. He was so desperate to survive that the future father of modern physics strongly considered abandoning science altogether to walk door to door as an insurance salesman. His relentless need to understand the why behind everything made him entirely unsuited for a society that rewarded quiet compliance. He was locked out of the traditional path to success, which forced him to carve out his own. That path eventually led him to the city of Bern, where he secured a humble safety net, a low-level job as a clerk at the Swiss Patent Office. He was assigned to a wooden desk in room 86 on the 3rd floor. Rejection from the academic establishment provided his greatest strategic advantage. The patent work was easy for him. He would rip through his daily assignments at lightning speed, intentionally buying himself hours of completely uninterrupted solitary time. This graphic illustrates exactly how he used that isolation. Instead of rushing to calculate a quick solution, Einstein spent the vast majority of his mental energy deeply analyzing why a problem existed in the first place. He firmly believed that if you truly understood the mechanics of the problem, the solution would naturally reveal itself. This isolated methodology generated spectacular results. In 1905, sitting at that wooden desk at just 26 years old, he published 4 separate papers on light, energy, and motion. Strangely, the scientific community completely ignored these world-changing ideas for months. They collected dust until they were finally read and validated by a prominent physicist named Max Planck, who immediately recognized the brilliant logic inside them. The most significant scientific revolution in history didn't originate in a massive, well-funded university lab. It was forged in the absolute quiet of a solitary room by a man given the space to think deeply. Compare Einstein's patient, analytical time in room 86 with the way we structure learning today. Modern school systems often demand that we blindly memorize rigid rules and pass standardized tests, leaving almost 0 room for independent thought. But an institution's assessment of your worth does not cap your potential. The man who redefined the physics of the universe failed a basic history class. Bad grades do not prevent brilliance. Obviously, you and I cannot easily rewrite massive educational or corporate systems overnight. We still have to live and work within them. What we can do is actively protect how our own minds operate. We have to stop treating the brain like a static hard drive to store facts and start treating it like an active engine of inquiry. Even if you are currently trapped in a job or a classroom that you despise, you must aggressively carve out a quiet, isolated space for yourself to protect your focus and chase your actual goals. And when you get into that space, put your brain to work. Do not blindly accept the status quo. Constantly pull things apart and ask exactly how and why they function. Brilliance is the product of a relentless, stubborn refusal to stop asking questions.